Hi, everybody, and welcome to Boundless Immigrations Live. For today, it's December 17th. We're going to be discussing holiday travel and what you should know and be thinking about as you get ready to see your family and loved ones this December and January. My name is Maggie Riley. I'm the Immigration Law and Policy Analyst for Boundless Immigration. I was an immigration attorney for several years before I joined Boundless Immigration, and I worked with immigrants and their families, representing them before the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, as well as Department of State interviews for people who do consular visas. So I spent a few years doing that. Now I work at Boundless Immigration, trying to make sure we can get as many people their green cards through their family members as possible. So welcome everybody today. On that note, we want to talk about what you can be doing this holiday season for those of you who are hoping to finally get to travel. So I wanted to spend some time with you today talking about that part of the holidays that maybe is a little bit less fun, and that's the actual traveling part. You know, it is thrilling, of course, that we're able to get to travel again. We've had years of travel bans. We had the COVID-19 pandemic that also resulted in border closures and several other, restrictions and difficulties for people to be able to travel in and out of the United States, to be able to visit with their loved ones, and see their family members. And so we're finally starting to see some of those restrictions lift. The last of the major restrictions was the COVID restriction that was lifted on November 8th, which was going to allow most travelers to re-enter the United States again. Unfortunately, in the intervening time, of course, and in a bit of deja vu, we have holiday travel ramping up just in time for a new variant of the COVID-19 to take off as well. So the Omicron variant, unfortunately, has joined the chat. And so, we have to be a bit more careful. That did introduce some additional travel restrictions that predominantly affected folks living or traveling through Southern Africa. And so those guidelines are still in effect for several countries that are based in the south of the African continent, and it's not clear how long those should continue, but we hope that they will not last for too much longer as we learn more about the Omicron variant. So, while you are traveling, some of you are also going to maybe be thinking about your fiance visas, your marriage-based green cards, other family-based green cards, or immigration processes that you've been working on. So during the winter, you might be getting ready to travel for the holiday, and you might be wondering, is there anything I can do to sort of strengthen my application or prepare? So we're going to talk about two things today. I'm going to go over what the COVID guidelines are right now to travel into the United States, and then I'm also going to talk about some of the things that you can do while you're together with your family members to gather evidence to show your relationship and strengthen your applications before the government. So on that final note, I do just want to say that this is general information. This is not specific legal advice for anybody. I'm not able to answer specific questions about anybody's situation, but I can give general information to you based on my experiences working as an attorney and working with USCIS and immigrant families. So I just wanted to give that proviso there, but I'm really excited to sort of walk you guys through what we've got. So all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump in, okay? So if you're coming to visit the United States, there are a few things that you need to know related to COVID-19 vaccinations and just general safety guidelines that the government put into place earlier this year. So they did lift the COVID travel restrictions for the most part on November 8th. But there are new rules that came into place. So the first is that the majority of travelers, almost everybody entering the United States, is going to need to be vaccinated against COVID-19. So you're going to have to show proof of that vaccination status before you board your flight. And then also, this is in addition to the usual round of vaccinations that you have to do as part of your medical examination on the I-693. So there's going to be standard vaccines and then also your COVID-19 vaccine. If you're an American citizen or a lawful permanent resident, you do also have to show either proof of full vaccination or you need to show a negative COVID test that was taken within 24 hours of boarding your flight. Some of you may have been through experiences where you've gone to get COVID tests and it can be unclear when you're going to get those results. And so obviously this is a complicating factor that you need to consider when you're thinking about traveling. If it's better to, for your own situation, if you want to make sure that you're fully vaccinated first, or if you want to go the route of testing. But you do need to have that negative test in hand before you can board a flight. So that's something important to keep in mind. Additionally, so there are a few different types of COVID tests that are accepted, as well as COVID vaccinations. So as far as vaccines, there are some of the major ones that a lot of folks in the United States have already heard of, like the Pfizer-BioNTech. There's also Moderna and the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. You can also come in on AstraZeneca, Covaxin, Covishield, the BIBP one, which is also called Sinopharm, or Sinovac. So there are several different vaccines that you can have to meet the requirement. Some of those are 2-dose shots, some are 1 dose, and so your doctor will be able to advise you about that. But you do need to have one of those vaccines before you can enter. And then to show proof of, and I do see a question in the chat, so to show proof of your vaccine, you either need to have your physical vaccination card. So in the United States, the CDC has been issuing paper cards where they list your dosages and your boosters. You can use that physical paper card, but you can also use digital vaccine records. And so, excuse me, those can vary a little bit. Some airlines, I believe, are have their own, or they're going through third parties. So there are companies called Clear that you can have your COVID vaccination information loaded into there. Some sports stadiums and arenas are using programs like that. I have used photographs of my vaccination card to enter certain places. It's unclear if that's sufficient for all airlines, so you're going to want to check with your airline before you're traveling, just to make sure you don't get caught out when you get to the airport. In general, though, a paper or a digital vaccination record is going to be sufficient. And so just check with your local health department for how they're issuing those records, and make sure you have a backup. So if you've got a physical card, never a bad idea to have a digital as well. I like to keep both just because I'm a bit of a worrywart. So you have your shot in, you get your physical card or your digital card, and you're going to show evidence of that, or your negative COVID vaccine test if you're a U.S. citizen within 24 hours. So you've got your vaccines, you got your shots, you're ready to go. So you might be wondering, once you get through the airport, you get reunited with your friends and family, is there anything you should be working on? Well, first and foremost, have fun. Congratulations, you're finally together again. I know it's been a long year for a lot of you during the pandemic and with all these travel bans and restrictions that we've had. So the first thing that you should really do is just make sure you're taking care of your health and enjoy your time together. Now, once you are together, one of the things that the government is going to be looking at later when you are preparing your applications for various immigration provisions is what's your relationship with your sponsor or petitioner. So if you are married to a United States citizen, if you are engaged to a United States citizen, if you have a parent or child who's a United States citizen, and you're going through the immigration process, part of that process is proving what your relationship is. And the government calls this a bona fide relationship. Basically, you're proving that your relationship is real, it's genuine, and it's not just to get a visa or to get a green card. And so there are a lot of different ways to do that. The government favors official documentation most of all, and this is per USCIS guidelines. So they're going to look at things like marriage certificates, birth certificates for children and parents. Now, obviously for fiancés, it's a little different because you're not married yet, so you're not going to have a marriage certificate. But there are other ways that you can prove your relationship even without this official documentation. So for example, as part of the K-1 process, you will include statements like about your intent to marry. And so, generally speaking, both people, they write down, hey, we love each other, this is how we met, this is, the situation, and we intend to marry once the petitioner, the beneficiary enters the United States. So that's what people generally would submit in lieu of a marriage certificate in the fiancé visa realm. After that, you can get sort of creative. A great piece of evidence is not just photos of you and your partner together or you and your family member together, but also photos of you with friends and family, either in their home country or here in the United States, depending who's traveling where. This really shows that you're integrating your lives together, that your families, have met each other. Obviously, this isn't always possible for everybody who's applying. Sometimes, family life can be complicated. But photographs of, your whole family together, all of your friends together at holiday parties are great. Make sure you jot down the names of the people in the photo and the date it was taken, because USCIS likes to see that sort of concrete information along with the general information like your photos. There are other things that you can add as well in addition to photographs. If you have taken classes together, if you're going on a fun vacation while you're visiting with each other, if you're going for a sleigh ride, you're going to the stop of the Space Needle in Seattle where Boundless is located. Any events that you're doing like that, you can include receipts. That's going to show the date and show if your names are on them, that's great. In conjunction with your photos, that really shows that you're out and about in the world doing things together. Joint tax returns for folks who are already married or have a parent-child relationship with a dependent are also really valuable. That falls in that official documents bucket that I mentioned at the beginning. That usually is something that you don't need to worry about when you're together, but if things are locked away in a safe somewhere, go ahead and grab those documents while you're at home visiting. Finally, proof of cohabitation. So for those of you who are living together, joint leases, documentation that you're paying your utility bills together, those things are all also sort of more official documentation that, combined with your photographs, your receipts from your trips together, purchases you've made for each other, letters you've sent to each other, chat records if you've been apart for a long time, all of these things together build up to create a large story or picture of your relationship together. So you want to really gather as much as you can. If you're working with an immigration attorney, they're going to be able to sort of tell you what you need, if you can strengthen a little more, a little less. If you're working with Boundless, that will come as part of your service. But generally speaking, that each little bit of evidence that you can add is going to strengthen your application and really show USCIS the bond between you and either your partner, your fiance, or your family member. So I haven't seen too many questions come in. I just want to remind you all, I will try to answer ones that I see come in. But I did want to let you all know too, to keep in mind when you're gathering your relationship evidence, that every relationship is different. So, not all of you are able to introduce to your parents. Maybe you aren't able to live together because of work. All of these things are different, and it's okay to get creative to find ways to show, here's how we met, this is how long we've been together, and this is our story. Because at the end of the day, that's what your application is telling the government, is the story of your relationship. So while you're together, take those photos, smile for the camera, gather your documents, and of course, be safe and have fun together. The holidays are really about enjoying that time together with each other. So I hope you all have a fabulous holiday season. Be safe, have fun, and we look forward to seeing you in the new year. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a lovely day.